Yeah, good morning students. In this class we are going to talk about directory. What is a directory? We are going to implement directories. Okay. In previous class we have studied about file system interface. That is, what is a file and what are the various file attributes, and at the same time what are the various operations on file. Next one is what is a file type. Next to file regarding file structure, and what are the various accessing methods like sequential access, direct access. Next one is indirect access. Okay. Now in this class we are going to purely concentrate on directory and disk structure. So directory can be defined as the list of the related files on the disk. Okay. So the directory may store some or the entire file attributes. To get the benefits of different file systems on the different operating systems, a hard disk can be divided into number of partitions of different sizes. The partitions are also called as volumes or mini disks. So here each partition may have at least one directory in which all the files of the partition can be listed. A directory entry is maintained for each file in the directory which store all the information related to that file. Okay. Here we have file 1. If you see the representation, file 1, file 2, file 3 and so on, file n. Okay. So here different directories are there. Okay. So for partition 1 we have one directory. In that directory we have different files. Again partition 2 we have directory. In that directory we have different files. Okay. So this is the representation of the directory. So next coming to directory. A directory can be viewed as a file which contain the metadata of the bunch of file. Okay, we are going to view the directory as a file. Okay, directory is nothing but it contains a file. Every directory supports the number of common operations. That is, if you take a directory, the directory supports the number of operations. That is, file creation or file search, file deletion, or renaming the file, or traversing the file and listing the file. Okay, all these are the various common operations for each and every directory must support. Okay. Next, coming to how we describe the most common schemes for defining the logical structure of a directory means we have different levels of directory. How we are going to divide the directories? We have single level directory as well as two level directory. Next one is tree structure directory. Next, cyclic graph directory. Okay, how we are going to represent the directory? So first one is the single level directory. So this is the representation of the single level directory. In this one, the simplest directory structure is the single level directory only. All files are contained in the same directory, which is easy to support and understand. But the implementation has limitation when the number of files increases or when the system has more than one user. Since all the files in the same directory, okay, all the file names must be unique. Keeping track of so many files is a difficult task. A single user on a single level directory may find it difficult to remember the names of all the files as the number of files is increases. Okay, so we count here what will happen is we have one directory. In the directory we have different files. Okay, we can't store same file names within the same directory. Okay, at the same time, if file names are very large, that very large means if a directory we have so many file names, it is very difficult to remember all the files for the user to remember. Okay, so this is one of the drawback we can say. So here directory, in this cat directory we have files, and this is one more directory. Okay, so here this is the representation of the single level directory. Here a single user on a single level directory may find difficult to remember all the files if there are files are more. And then here in this representation, what are the various advantages? Here implementation is, first advantage is implementation. Implementation is very easy. If the size of the file are very small, then the searching also very faster. Okay, if the size of a particular file is very small, then it is very easy easily we are going to search that particular file. So that is searching become faster or searching become easy. So next one is file creation or searching or deletion is very simple since we have only one directory. Here we have only one directory. So if we want to search a particular file or if we want to delete a particular file, it is very easy. So next, what are the various disadvantages of single level directory? We cannot have two file names with the same name. Okay. At the same time, the directory may be very big, therefore searching for a file may take so much time. This is one of the drawbacks. So at the same time, protection cannot be implemented for multiple users. So next, one more drawback is there are no ways to group same kind of files. If there are some files has same kind, so we can't group all those files. So choosing a unique name for every file is a bit complex. Okay, all these are the drawbacks, different drawbacks in single level directory. Whereas coming to next level directory, that is two-level directory. In two-level directory, we can create a separate directory for each user. For each user, we have master, we can say it is a master, it is user directories. For each user, we are going to create a separate directory for each user. For each user 1, we have a separate directory, user 2, separate directory, user 3, separate directory. There is a one master directory which contains separate directories dedicated to each directories. Okay. So here master directories, user 1, user 2, user 3. For each user, there is a different directory present at second level. Okay, for each user directory, for each directory, here what I am saying is for each user, there is a different directory present at the second level. Here we have second level directory containing group of user file names. Okay, these are the file names. The system does not let a user to enter in the other users directory without permission. Okay, that means here what will happen is user cannot enter into the one more user directory. One user cannot enter into the another user's directory. Okay, without permission. So what are the characteristics? What are the various characteristics of two-level directory? First one is each file has the path name as username, or we can say directory name. So next characteristic is different users can have the same file names. Here different users will have the same file names. Searching become more efficient as only one user list needs to be traversed. Next one is the same kind of files cannot be grouped into a single directory for a particular user. Okay, so this is the two-level directory. Next, coming to tree structured directory. Here we extend the two-level directory to a tree of arbitrary height. Okay, it is just like as a tree, parent and child. This generalization allows user to create their own directories and to organize their files accordingly. A tree is the most common directory structure. The tree has root directory. Here root directory was first one. Okay, root directory, and every file in the system has a unique path name. Okay, a directory contains a set of files or subdirectories. Okay, here a directory may have set of files or subdirectories. All directories have the same internal format. One bit in each directory entry defines the entry as a file 0 or as a subdirectory 1. So this is the representation of the tree structured directories. Okay, here the thing is we have root, again we have children. Okay, here spell, bin, programs. These are the directories, root directory, again subdirectories. In the directories we have again subdirectories. Okay, in directories we have files and subdirectories. Here, so here directory, files. Here directory, file is there. Again subdirectory is there. Okay, so it is just like as a parent child relationship. A directory may have file or subdirectory. Okay, in a structured manner, the tree structured manner. Okay, here each process have current directory. The current directory should contain most of the files that are of the current interest to the process. Path name can be of two types, absolute and relative. A absolute path name begins at the root and follows a path down to the specified file giving the directory name on the path. A relative path name defines a path from the current directory. Okay. So this is the representation of the tree structure directory. Next, coming to one more directory structure is, that is acyclic graph directory. This is the representation of the acyclic. So a tree structure prohibits the sharing of files and directories. An acyclic graph, that is graph with no cyclic. Here acyclic means graph with no cyclic, allows directories to share subdirectories and files. Here the major advantage is we are going to share the subdirectories and files also. The same file or subdirectory may be in two different directories. Here the major advantage is, why we are going to implement this one is, the same file or subdirectory may be in two different directories. With a shared file, only one actual file exists. Sharing is particularly important for subdirectories. Shared files and subdirectories can be implemented in several ways. One way is to create a new directory entry called a link. A link is a pointer to another file or subdirectory. Another approach in implementing shared file is to duplicate all information about them in both sharing directories. Okay, so this is the representation of the acyclic graph directory. So next one is file system mounting. See, what is meant by file system mounting? So the basic idea behind file system mounting is, or we can say mounting a file system is, to combine the multiple file systems into one large tree structure. Here the mount command is given a file system to mount and a mount point, or we can say directory on which to attach it. Once a file system is mounted onto a mount point, any further reference to that directory actually refer to the root of the mounted file system. Any files or subdirectories that had been stored in the mount point directory prior to mounting the new file system are now hidden by the mounted file system and are no longer available. For this reason, some systems only allow mounting onto empty directories. Here, file systems can only be mounted by root unless root has previously configured certain file systems to be mountable onto certain predetermined mount point. Anyone can run the mount command to see what file systems are currently mounted. File systems may be mounted read-only or have other restrictions imposed. Okay, so this is regarding file system mounting. Next, coming to file sharing. See, what is meant by file sharing? Here, file sharing is desirable for users who want to collaborate and to reduce the effort are required to achieve a computing goal. Whereas here we are talking about multiple users. When an operating system accommodates multiple users, the issue of file sharing, file naming and file protection become preeminent. System mediates file sharing. The system can either allow a user to access the files of the other user by default or required that a user specially grant access to the file. So next one is we are going to know about a remote file system, at the same time client server model. So here in this remote file system, networking allows sharing of resources spread across a campus or even around the world. One obvious resource to share is data in the form of files only. The first implemented file sharing method involves manually transferring files between machine via programs like FTP. The second major method uses a distributed file system in which remote directories are visible from a local machine. The third method is through www. Okay, here totally 3 methods are there. First one is FTP. Second one is distributed remote directories are visible from a logical machine. And next one is through www. FTP is used for both anonymous and authenticated access. Anonymous access allows a user to transfer files without having an account on the remote systems. www uses anonymous file exchange almost exclusively. DFS involves a much tighter integration between the machine that is accessing the remote files and the machine providing the files. So next, coming to the client-server model. Here the client-server mode, in this client-server model, remote file systems allow a computer to mount one or more file systems from one or more remote machines. Here the machine containing the files is the server and the machine seeking access to the file is the client. A server can be serve multiple clients and a client can be use multiple servers depending on the implementation details of a given client server facility. Once the remote file system is mounted, file operation requests are sent on behalf of the user across the network to the server via DFS protocol. So this is regarding client server model. Next we are going to talk about one more model, that is failure model also. Here in this failure model, what will happen is local file systems can fail for a variety of reasons, including a failure of the disk containing the file system, corruption of the delivery structure or other disk management information, disk control failure, cable failure and a host adapter failure. Use or system administrator failure can also cause file to be lost or entire directory or volume to be deleted. Many of these failures will cause a host to crash and an error condition to be displayed and a human intervention will be required to repair the damage. Remote file systems have even more failure modes. In case of the network can be interrupted between two hosts. Such interruption can result from hardware failure, poor hardware configuration or networking implementation issues. For a directory from a failure, some kind of state information may be maintained on both client as well as server. So next, coming to protection. See here, protection is one of the main issue one of the major issue. See here, when information is stored in a computer system, it should be kept safe from the physical damage and improper access. Reliability means reliability is provided by duplicate copies of data. So here protection can be provided in many ways, such as physically removing the floppy disk and looking them up. What are the various types of access? Here we are going to know about types of access. Complete protection to files can be provided by prohibiting access. Systems that do not permit access to the files of other users do not need protection. Both these approaches are extreme. Hence, controlled access is required. So, protection mechanism provides controlled access by limiting the types of file access that can be made. Access is permitted or denied depending on many factors. The several different types of operations may be controlled. Those are read. Read is nothing but read from the file. So next one is write. Write or rewrite the file. Execute. Execute is nothing but load the file into memory and execute it. And next one is append. Append is nothing but write new information at the end of the file. Delete the file and free it space for the possible reuse. And next one is list. List the name and attributes of the file name. Okay. So next one is access control. Next we are going to talk about access control. Here, access control is nothing but the most common approach to protection problem is to make access dependent on the identity of the user. The most general scheme to implement identity dependent access is to associate with each file and directory and access control list. We can say ACL, specifying usernames and the types of user allowed for each user. So at the same time, next one is, this approach has the advantage of enabling complex access methodologies. The main problem with access list is the length. To condense the length of the access control list, many systems recognize 3 classifications of users in connection with each file. That is owner, group, universe. See, owner means user who create the file. Group is nothing but a set of users who are sharing the file and need similar access. Universe means all other users in the system. Next one is we have other approaches, protection approaches. In this one, other protection approaches to protection problem is to associate a password with each file. If the password are chosen randomly and changed often, this scheme may be effective in limiting access to a file. Use of password also have certain disadvantages. The number of passwords that a user need to remember may become large, making the scheme impractical. At the same time, if only one password is used for all the files, then once it is discovered, all files are accessible. Okay, so this is regarding protection and at the same time access control. Okay, so thank you one and all.